Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. I hope you're having a good morning, everybody, and hope you got a good night's sleep, and that everybody's feeling wonderful. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not feeling great over here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I've been having my health is acting up. So we're going to do everything we can to get through this one, people. I'm not sure that we'll get through the entire thing. I've been having some issues of pain. But we're going to give it a try. We find ourselves in a very unusual place in the United States of America today. We've talked about this before on the boat, but if you're new here, this is that you may not be as familiar with some of the lifers here on the lifeboat. But we found ourselves in an opioid epidemic that now is actually a very old epidemic in this country. And when it first started, it started because of a group of individuals. It started because of a group of individuals, a family that called the Sacklers. And Arthur Sackler, who's the Don of the family, the godfather of the Sacklers, invented advertising drugs on television and in print. Prior to Arthur Sackler, you couldn't do this. It was not legal. By the way, there are 2 countries on the planet that allow advertising for drugs on television. We take it for granted because we've seen erectile dysfunction ads on television forever, right? The average 6-year-old can identify the logo for Pfizer. There's something wrong with that. The commercials for every drug you can think of. Wait until the Super Bowl this year. The amount of money that they spend. Us in New Zealand, nobody else. And what ended up happening is we created an entire new group of people in our country. The shopper, the people that walk into a doctor's office, and instead of saying, "Let me tell you my symptom," they go in and they say, "I have restless leg syndrome. I want Lyrica," because they watched a commercial that told them that if you have restless leg syndrome, you need Lyrica. And when you see something bombarded on you again and again and again and again and again, eventually you just start asking for these medications from your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't write you a prescription for them, you go to the next doctor. And if you don't think that's the case, when in the 1980s, when I was in high school, the average American had 1 prescription a year. Now the average American has 6. 6 prescriptions a year. So we're taking 6 times more prescriptions now than we were, 40 years ago. And it's going to continue to get worse. But Arthur Sackler got put on the map with a drug called Valium. Almost everybody on the lifeboat knows what Valium is, even if you haven't done it. It's booze in a pill, right? The benzodiazepines had just been invented, and the idea was they were going to replace barbiturates, which were a much more dangerous way to get the same thing done. A lot of overdoses on barbiturates, a lot of people that died. So they wanted a tranquilizer, something that could help people calm down and deal with anxiety and a whole host of other things. And Valium fit the bill and had a great name, right? They pay people fortunes to come up with the names of drugs, things like Viagra, right? That make you think something when you hear a specific sound. But Valium was one of the greats. It just sounded like it helped you relax. And Arthur Sackler got beyond wealthy. However, he pissed off a lot of people because a ton of individuals got addicted to this stuff. And guess what? You can't cold turkey or it'll kill you, right? So the addiction really became an issue for a lot of people. And there was a time where Valium was the most prescribed drug on the planet. And the vast majority of people taking it were suburban housewives in America, all of whom apparently were on it. Sackler disappeared. And then, like every evil bastard that ever lived, he reappeared with a new drug. And it's probably a drug that you're not familiar with, which is sad, because if he had stopped with this first drug, we wouldn't be here. But that drug was MS Contin, right? MS Contin. This was morphine sulfate right? With Contin, Contin, which was the what Pomfret, which was the name of the company that that Arthur Sackler was running. Pomfret. Oh, sorry, people. I'm really struggling. I'm sorry. So MS Contin was only being written for people who were dying. Great drug. Contin, which is the time release designation for the Pomfret Company, meant that you could take a drug and give somebody 5 times the normal dose, but make it take 7 hours for that to dissipate into their system. This was fantastic for people who were dying, because if you're dying, who cares if you get addicted to something? If you have terminal cancer, addiction is not the biggest issue on your plate. So the Contin worked beautifully, right? The time release thing was one of the best that anyone had ever come up with. So they decided to try it with a drug that they had had on the shelves forever, a drug called Percodan or Oxycodone. And they came up with Oxycontin. And then they took a study that wasn't a study, and everybody on the boat knows what I'm talking about. This is the Porter-Glick study. The Porter-Glick study. And they wrote in all of their advertising for Oxycontin because Arthur Sackler was coming off the deck. He was making his last great push, and that was going to be advertising Oxycontin. He was older than dirt, but his sons were taking over. And they rolled out the greatest painkiller in history, the Oxycontin 80, and the ones that you probably didn't see on the street, the 160 and the 360. Heavy duty dope, right? This was the strongest stuff known to man. A Percocet is 5 milligrams of oxycodone. 5 milligrams. They were giving you 80. Good God, right? That's a ton of Percocet or Percodan. So they make this into a time-released version and they start to sell it. And in their literature and on all of the stuff that they sent out to the doctors, they put in a study done by a doctor named Porter, and they assumed by a doctor named Glick, right? Actually, one of them was a secretary. And the doctor said, could you do me a favor and pull up the computer on all of the people that I have written prescriptions for pain meds to see whether or not they got addicted? It wasn't Oxycontin, by the way. That's not the pain medication that he was writing a prescription for. It was just the oxycodone, right? The instant release version. And what he found was only 1 or 2 people out of everyone he had ever written a prescription for got addicted. Well, he never wrote a second prescription. If somebody said they were hurting, he had them come back in. He was very, very diligent. And he thought doctors might find that interesting. So he mailed that into the JAMA, the New England Journal of Medicine. And these idiots published it. Well, that published article in the New England Journal of Medicine became the backbone of all of the marketing for Oxycontin. Less than 3% of people that take this thing are going to get addicted to it. They thought they had the ultimate way to relieve pain with no one ever getting addicted. 3 out of 100, it's worth the risk. But it wasn't 3 out of 100. When the first internal memos came out, the numbers read 13%. And Sackler's son said 13%. I really thought it would be a lot higher than that. Yeah, came out in the court cases. They knew that the Porter-Glick study was BS. That number got up, by the way, above 30%. It was at 27 and then got above 30. And then they came out and said, this drug's no good. This is Sackler. They said, this drug's no good. Honestly, we need to do something to reformulate this because people are crushing it up and they're snorting it and they're shooting it. Apparently, they didn't see that coming, right? Give me a break. By the way, at this time in the world, your humble captain was getting 8 of these Oxycontin 80s a day written to him in a prescription from a pain management doctor in Salt Lake City, Utah. Right? A woman that worked at the U.S. ski team. was giving me duffel bags full of Oxycontin every day. It was harmless. You couldn't get addicted to it. Of course, this was absolute BS. And then the United States government enters the scene and does what the United States government is uniquely qualified to do. And that is F up anything that they get within a half a mile of. And they do what we're famous for in the United States, the knee-jerk reaction. And they say, doctors can't be writing prescriptions like this. Way too many people are getting prescriptions written for Oxycontin. This is a problem. So they started to take the biggest pill mill doctors in the US, who probably deserve to go to prison for what they were doing. Some of them, as it turns out, were writing 1,000 prescriptions a day, which means that they were seeing sometimes 3 and 4 patients a minute. It was a assembly line. There are people on the boat, tons of them, that know all about Holly Oxenfree. There are a ton of people on the boat who know all about the pill mills down south. Those of us who got addicted through them, and those that helped organize them, and people that went to prison behind them. I've talked to a ton of people on the lifeboat that survived the pill mill part of drugs in America. But once they started throwing these doctors in prison, they changed the laws. And now all of a sudden, you have this entire group of people who are addicted to opiates, right? And you don't just say to them, well, we're going to take you off these pills and you'll be fine. You're going to be sick for 2 or 3 days. Some, by the way, for some that worked. If they didn't have the gene, if they weren't drug addicts, some of them just got sick, got well, and went, holy crap, I'm not doing that again, right? Normies. That didn't happen to us, though, did it? What happened to us was we got hopelessly addicted to this stuff. And now we couldn't get it. So people fled to the streets to buy heroin. And you had people all over America that, against everything in their fiber, were doing heroin, right? Doctors, lawyers, professionals all over the U.S. snorting and smoking heroin off tin foil. And then the cartels saw just how huge a market there was for people in the United States that wanted their dope in a pill. So they began to press a synthetic opiate, a synthetic opioid called fentanyl, and they began to press that into pills. Yeah, they started pressing these things into pills, and hundreds of millions of these pills started to fly across the border. Why? Guess what? I don't care who you vote for. You hear me? I don't. Whoever you voted for up until the time that you got to the lifeboat is your business. I don't care about your politics. But my political party has one issue, and it's the amount of fentanyl that there is in the United States of America, and just how damn easy it is to get, and how our government is literally letting it come in. And I mean doing everything within their power to facilitate this drug getting into this country. We did. We absolutely did. We did stupid things like saying, well, you can't be shipping fentanyl into the United States or into Mexico. We would not allow that anymore, right? We put our foot down because, damn it, we're the United States of America. We didn't say you can't mail analogs, right? You can mail all the ingredients, anything you want to make the stuff. You just can't actually mail the finished product of alpha fentanyl, right? Everything we do is stupid. Everything we do when it comes to this is stupid. So if you happen to be a lefty and you're leaning left, your president is the worst president in history for allowing drugs to come across the border. If you happen to be a Republican, your party didn't do any better. They didn't. On a scale of 1 to 10, they might have been a 7, right? In terms of crap. The Democrats currently are a 10. But together they're doing nothing. And you know why? Truthfully, because they would rather see American people die from drug overdoses than give the other side a win. The Democrats voted uniformly to build a wall on the southern border to stop the flow of drugs into the United States of America. Look it up. Barack Obama voted for it 4 times. 4 times. But see, once a Republican wanted that wall, it became an issue. And they didn't care anymore how many people died because they couldn't give them a win. What happens if they build the wall and people stop dying? Holy hell, they'll elect Republicans for the next 3 terms. We can't have that. Don't let them build the wall. Holy shit, really? So over 350 Americans a day now die from drug overdoses. It's the number one cause of death from the ages of 18 to 55. Wrap your brain around that. The number one cause of death in our country from 18 to 55 is drug overdose. You're more likely to die from that than cancer. And it's the only thing that you could die from in this country that we ought to be able to prevent, right? Super easy. Don't let fentanyl come in here. Now, I am of the firm belief that we're under attack from China, that this is how they start World War III. And you don't have to agree with me on this, but I'd sure like to hear why you don't. As a guy that spent a decent amount of time in the drug world, right? That's drug dealing, drug producing, whatever. I did kind of all of it. And here's a really solid rule of thumb among drug dealers. You don't kill your customer base. If you accidentally kill your customer base, you make your product weaker so that you don't kill more. See, killing your customers brings a lot of heat to everybody involved. And they find it very difficult to buy dope the next day from you if they're dead. But with 350 people a day overdosing on this shit, they're making it stronger. Every single batch that they catch is stronger than the previous batch. That doesn't make any sense, people, right? You don't continue to make your product stronger if you're freaking killing people. But they are. So why are they doing that? Well, you know what's really odd is everybody that is dying is military age, right? You start doing a draft. What are you drafting? You're drafting 18 to 55, right? Those who aren't dead are strung out. And then pouring across our border, right, are Chinese folks at a 6,000% increase from how they were coming in before. 6,000% somehow are just now managing to get over. And they're all men and they're all military age. Think I'm crazy? Wait and see what's going to happen. This is bad. This is really, really bad. We are in crisis right now in our country, and there's never been a time in America where simply doing drugs was Russian roulette. We are to a place now where it doesn't matter what dope you do. You say, well, it's just fine and dandy, Captain. I snort cocaine, right? I don't do opiates, so I'm not worried. The last year, 5 overdoses in one day in Colorado in a apartment where they bought coke, laid it out, all snorted it, and dropped dead where they were, where they did the line. That was it. I mean, these people snorted it and were dead in a matter of seconds because they got stuff that hadn't been cut, and they're putting fentanyl in everything. Again, good business? No. You don't put an opiate into somebody's cocaine. You don't put an opiate into somebody's methamphetamine, right? Because the people that like cocaine and methamphetamines don't like opiates. It's usually pretty solid that way, right? They're going for a completely different feel. Yeah, pacifist. If they start getting scared, 18 to 55, everybody goes. That's the age. Of course, there won't be anybody left at the rate we're going. So they're cutting this into every single product out there. And what we found is that it takes anywhere from 3 doses to all the way as high as 12 doses in some cases to save someone by administering Narcan after an overdose from fentanyl. And the Narcan is going to course through your blood for about 30 minutes, right? And during that time, it's going to do what it does. They're finding on fentanyl that it gets somebody out of it. And then as it wears off out of the system, the person just overdoses again because it's still in their system. So now you got people that you got to keep in the hospital, and you got to, keep administering this stuff. And you don't have somebody that's particularly happy, you understand. Each time you administer this stuff, you make them sicker. But the antidote doesn't work the way it's supposed to, which is great if you're trying to kill people, right? But it still works. The antidote still works. So I got a good idea. Let's mix in something called xylazine, right? Because if we mix in xylazine, which is a similar to a benzo, it's a tranquilizer, right? But it is a very, very strong one, and there is really no antidote for this. So they've taken something that the antidote wasn't working on and made sure that if you go out on this stuff, you're going to die. Ned and Coco Speed Shop, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It's awesome. Thank you. These, so now that you've got xylazine added in this, you also have people who are getting addicted to the xylazine, right? And I told you, I talked to the first person that I knew on the lifeboat that admitted that they're addicted to Trank. And they said, Captain, the heroin doesn't do a thing. And I'm sure it's fentanyl because there's no heroin left in the United States. It's all Fugazi at this point. But he said, at this point, I'm shooting this just for the Trank. That's what they're addicted to. And guess what happens if you don't get a shot? Yeah. This is a tranquilizer. This is in the same family as benzos. You get strung out on this and you don't get a shot, you're going to go into seizures and it's going to kill you. Oh, yeah. And are they going to call it a drug overdose? No. They didn't die of a drug overdose. They died of a seizure. The numbers that you're hearing in the United States as far as deaths every day aren't even close to how many deaths there are. A guy nods out at the wheel on fentanyl. He's not a fentanyl death, right? Somebody blows their head off in withdrawal from fentanyl. That's not a fentanyl overdose. People who are killing each other for where they're going to sell these little pills that say M30 on them. Those pills that 6 out of 10 have more than, 24 milligrams, 2.4 milligrams. Enough to kill you. No, 6 out of 10 pills they consider deadly. This is the world that we live in. See, it was cool in everybody's mind. It was cool if the people that overdosed were you and me. If the people who overdosed were those junkies, right, that have been getting high forever anyway, hell, we're just thinning the herd, right? If we can get rid of a couple of Tommy Scovilles, we're probably a little bit better off than we were. But see, that's not the way it's going down anymore, right? That's not how it's going down right now. It is a completely different thing. See, now what you got is a beautiful little 10th grade girl who got her wisdom teeth out and said to somebody in the car, I didn't remember my pain meds. Can you turn the car around? And her friend said, what are you taking? And she said, Percodan. And the girl said, I got a Perk 30. Take half of it. They're really strong. So a girl who doesn't have a drug problem, who's not a junkie, she's not Tommy Scoville, eats a half a Percocet she gets from a friend and dies. And her mother is now a warrior about this stuff. But there are so many stories just like that one. See, now it's killing people that aren't drug addicts. Now it's killing people that just decided maybe they wanted to try to see what that felt like. Oh, you guys got perks? Let me try one. 2 twins in Colorado. Twins. No other kids, by the way. Mom and dad had twin sons. They're both gone. And it's, we hear 300 deaths, 350 deaths. 350 people die a day. 350 people die a day. 350 people, 350 people. And I try to humanize this because they're digits on a government chart, right? They're little marks. But it's 150 houses emptying out, or 125 houses emptying out a day. Your neighborhood, look around. How many houses are in your neighborhood? Gone. Poof. See ya. It's 350 sons and daughters and brothers and sisters, and boyfriends and girlfriends. And are they riding high? Not very many of them. The vast majority of them are living at the bottom of the barrel. But Prince wasn't, right? Tom Petty wasn't. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he wasn't. Heath Ledger, no, he was doing pretty well. The number of people that we're losing from overdoses. Boy, you notice when Philip Seymour Hoffman goes, don't you? That cat won an Academy Award. Nobody gives a crap about the 350 that didn't win an Academy Award who are going to die today. You know, Prince is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Nobody cares about the 350 that are going to die today who are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. See, if you can play an instrument and you do heroin, that's cool. But if you're a street person and you do heroin, you're just a degenerate, right? And the world's better off without you. And sadly, that's the truth. It's the reason that things like the lifeboat become popular. Because we understand that we're just as important as Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? Every single time that we lose somebody to one of these overdoses, this country's just a little less good, right? And that's anywhere in the world. Every time an addict is lost, we're a little bit less good. I've watched so many people get sober only to find out that they're just nothing like they were. Nothing. Night and day, completely different people. And you say to yourself, that person's been in there trying to get out this entire time. Nancy Ives says, second live stream, happy to be clean. It's scary out there. Lost both of my brothers to heroin. Sent you an email this morning, but it's not an emergency. Hope that's okay. That's fantastic. Nancy, thank you. I'm sorry about your loss. People, I'm not kidding you. If a day, a month goes by that I don't get an email from somebody that says, we just lost my whatever, my niece, my uncle, but every day, every single day. There are days I get 8 of them, but every single day somebody emails me to tell me who they lost. And you think it's getting better? It's not. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting so much worse. The availability of the drug is everywhere. And guess what? Drug dealers, you don't page them anymore. We paged drug dealers. They called us back, right? When the pager went away, we called a dispatcher. And the dispatcher called one of 3 vehicles that were driving around the city and had them dispatch heroin to you. They were really proud of the system. They said they were like Coca-Cola. The product was always going to be the same and you'd be able to get it anywhere. And you don't have to leave your house if you don't want to. They'll deliver it. Yeah. A couple of kids from Navarrete, Mexico came up with the whole concept, right, of the dispatch. You call a drug dealer, the drug dealer sends a car out to you. And the guy you call on the phone, he's not in any danger ever. He's sitting somewhere. So I've called them before and said, hey, I need a bag. And they said, yeah, we're getting a different car. That means is their guy just got arrested. And in 15 minutes, they got another one up and running and on the way to you. They got a guy waiting to go. It's efficient as hell. I watched it for decades. It's efficient as hell. But see, that was my generation, right? That's how we did it. Now, you do it on this. Now you can go to Instagram and find the dope dealer that you've never met, and they'll deliver to you. Your kids don't have to leave the house to buy dope anymore. The vast majority of kids buy their dope through Instagram, through Snapchat, through places like that. It's terrifying if you think about it. But it's the world we live in. Now, I'll be really honest with you. I love the fact that this is the team of people that we've got. I love the fact that you guys care about one another the way that you do. And I love the fact that even those of you who have zero affiliation to anything that went on with what we were doing, Alan and I were doing last week, looked at that and said, that sick prick gets what he's got coming to him and deserves to be punished. Righteous indignation about Danny Masterson. right? Makes sense, doesn't it? Guy's a piece of crap. He used drugs to drug women and assault them viciously, and then seemed to take great pleasure afterwards in reliving that fact. He's a sick prick. I want you to get that pissed off about this. I really do. Because if we all don't get pissed off about this, we're not going to have a country to save. If you think I'm playing that bigger than it is, it's the number one cause of death. Holy hell. If I had told you that 10 years ago, yeah, drug overdoses are going to be the number one cause of death in our country, right? You're going to be able to buy fentanyl, the strongest painkiller that had hit the street. Now there is a stronger one. There's actually 2 stronger ones out now, but the vast majority of stuff on the street is still fentanyl. But you're going to be able to buy fentanyl, right? Which is 50 times stronger than heroin. And you're going to be able to get it for about $30 a gram in most places. There was a time I was paying $300 a gram for heroin. At the end, it got down to about $75 a gram, unless I bought a kilo or something ridiculous. But there are people paying $15 a gram in some cities for fentanyl. I promise you that it is not going to be a politician that does anything about this unless we make them think they're going to lose their job. Seventh Son's been amazing about reaching out and just being a pain in the can to every politician out there. Call your local politician and get them on the phone. Just say, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? It's ripping the country apart. It's destroying America, plain and simple. And you know what? If you're thinking to yourself, oh, thank God, I don't live in America. It's coming to a country near you. Alan Ballantyne will tell you, right? There's fent all over Australia. I can show you the articles. Every time somebody dies of fentanyl in Australia, somebody sends me the article. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And if where you are is free, right? Do you know that the biggest fentanyl problem on the planet per capita right now is in Israel? Number 2 is in America. Does that not make you go, huh? So seriously, is that logical to you? Well, considering they're the big Satan and we're the little Satan or something like that, it makes sense to me. Christy, thank you so much, and it's great to have you back. Christy says losing a human soul isn't good, no matter who you are. You know what? You're right. Losing a human soul is horrendous, no matter who that soul is. But with drug addicts, it's the potential for who that soul could be. If I had died 8 years ago of a fentanyl overdose, there's no lifeboat, right? And the person that 8 years ago, it was me, but it wasn't me. Yeah, Israel has the number 1 problem per capita right now with fentanyl. Odd, right? They're nowhere near the Mexican border. They're not getting any of it coming across the Mexican border, I promise you. But if you're China, right? And they brag, they say, we plan for 1,000 years. And in America, we plan for 4, right? We got people in office that will say, I don't care how many Americans die for the next 4 years because we're not giving the other side a win. It's absolutely amazing that they passed the First Step Act, the prison reform bill. And it was passed under Trump. Go ahead and hate him. We're not doing politics. Don't do it. I hate all of them. You know, Republican, Democrat, I'm the lifeboat party. What are you going to do about fentanyl? What are you going to do about fentanyl? I mean, we can talk about the other stuff later, but what are you going to do about fentanyl? This is the end of the world as we know it if we don't do something about it. For real. And it's killing our kids. It's killing our kids. I want everybody. I want everybody to get upset about this. Do they die from overdoses in prison? More than you could possibly imagine. When I was at Victorville and the warden was attacked, we went on a really, really long lockdown. I don't remember how long it was anymore. It was a long lockdown. But in a 7-day period of time, we had 3 people die from drug overdoses. 7 days, 1 prison. They're dying everywhere. County jails too. They're probably dying more from county jails they're dying more from overdoses in county jails currently probably than prison. Because when you get arrested, many times people enter the facility carrying dope, right? Drug dealers will swallow entire loads or they keister it or whatever. And so there's often fentanyl in the holding facilities of the county jails. But we're in crisis in this country. We're in crisis. And I've done shows on something called isonitazine and phytonitazine, which are two drugs that are stronger than fentanyl, considerably stronger than fentanyl. And I promise you, people, when we did the story about this a year and a half ago, no one was talking about it. But now it's been found in all 50 states. They call them NITs because it falls under the family of drugs called phytonitazines or nitazines. And NITs are worse than fentanyl. They're like fentanyl, except you're really not going to get any love at all off Narcan. It's not going to do a damn thing. It's horrible. Thank you, Seventh Son. Seventh nailed it. He says, education is the only way to save our children. And I'll take that to the next comment, which is from Ned and Coco. He says, I have a 24-year-old kid and I worry every day. The best thing that you can do is to talk to your kid. And you do it. I mean, my daughter came on the show and joked about it. I did an interview with her and my son jokes about it too, how often I talk to him about fentanyl, right? I mean, holy crap, I'm the captain of the lifeboat. I shouldn't have to talk to him, right? It's pretty obvious. Like I talk about this all the time on the lifeboat. Why would I? Because I'm going to talk to my kids every single time I get a chance. You just talk to them. And I don't, you know what? I never make them feel like, I'm the uncool dad, right? I'm not here to say to you, I'm not trying to be Nancy Reagan. I'm not trying to be anybody. I don't lecture people on not doing drugs. Believe it or not, I don't do that. I tell people about drugs. I tell my kids about drugs. I tell them exactly what the drugs will do to them, right? Why I don't think it's a particularly good idea that they do those drugs, but they're going to make the decision and I'm not going to be standing there when they do. But with any luck, the things that I tell them will stick with them. So I beat it to death. And you know what? My son and my daughter have both smoked pot, right? I know this. They've told me. And they told me because I'm not going to jump their crap. I'm not going to, they're going to have to listen to me, but I'm certainly not going to yell at them like the 1950s, father that you would see in in a movie or whatever. Okay, so you smoked a little pot, in both cases, they got weed from dispensaries. I'm literally just saying to myself, God, just let him smoke pot from dispensaries, please. If that's all they're going to do, then I won. They may outgrow that, whatever, but it's pot from a dispensary. There's nobody putting anything into that. If that's what they're doing to get high, thank God, right? Seriously. Do I want my kids smoking pot? Of course not. No, I'd be way happier if my kids don't do anything. But the one I'm worried about right now is a street drug, any kind of street drug. I don't want them doing something that they buy from somebody, right? That's my biggest fear. So I'm going to beat that to death. And I think that, Steve Seven Son said, if we're going to beat this thing, we're going to beat it through education. And he's right. You don't win the war on drugs from the supply side because the people that are smuggling the stuff across the border are doing so to make enough money to feed their family for a year, right? They can make one trip across that border. If they land on the other side, their family's set for a year. If you think of what they make down there, let me get this straight. I carry this to there and my family is set. Yeah. Okay. If that guy gets caught, there'll be someone watching him get caught that will say, all right, give me the next one, because it's an opportunity to feed your family for a year. You can't really begrudge somebody that is, growing up in a place where you don't have a lot of options, but that's one of them. I promise you, in the same situation, I would be doing it. I don't hate the people that are smuggling this stuff across the border. I hate the American government more. I swear to God, I do. Our government made this happen. And we didn't just destroy America in the process. We destroyed Mexico in the process. And how many other countries? Do you know that in the world today, if you say, as a country, this drug war thing is stupid. This drug war thing doesn't make any sense. And it's taking lives. It's killing lives. So we're just going to legalize this stuff. America says you will never get another dollar from us. It's the first thing we do. You will not get a dollar. So you look at countries like Uruguay or whatever, they said, we don't want your money. We're better off without it. We're better off without it. The war on drugs in the United States of America is the second largest budget we have. True story. We spend more money on only one thing, and that's military. Right? Other than military, our second largest budget is fighting drugs coming into this country. And the amazing thing is, we've spent all that money and we have nothing to show for it. Nothing. One of the greatest things I ever heard, I went to a speech a guy was giving on drugs. She's biting me. I went to a speech a guy was giving on drugs and on the war on drugs. And he said, and I've been quoting him since, the war on drugs isn't winnable. This was a guy that worked for the one of the letter agencies, by the way. But he said, the war on drugs isn't winnable. Not in any way, shape, or form. But it's fundable. It's fundable. You see, if it's the second largest budget in the U.S. government, that doesn't mean that one person gets this huge, billions of dollars. No, it gets broken down into little fiefdoms, right? So all of these little fiefdoms, all these guys and gals have 70 people that work below them, and they just drop $10 million on their desk and say, go buy some heavy artillery and maybe an urban assault vehicle for this war on drugs. Spend that money quickly, because if you don't spend all of it, then you don't get any next year. But if you spend all of it, we're going to give you the 10 million plus a 15% bump, right, for the next year. That's just the standard increase that America does on every single budget we have. Think about that. Every budget we have in this country goes up by 15% if the agency spends every dollar of this fiscal year's budget. Trust and believe they spend every dollar. If they got $1 million in the account and 4 days left, they will buy a gold-plated toilet. They will buy, I watched this happen. I was in a federal prison, and I was the person that ordered things in the kitchen. Our fiscal year ended in September. They said to me, we're replacing all the desks in the staff cafeteria. And I said, what's wrong with the ones in there? Nothing. Right? We're replacing all the ovens. The ovens were 3 years old. Those are 40-year ovens. Right? They guarantee those puppies for an eternity. These are big industrial ovens that you cook prison food with. But we replaced them. Pull them out and replace them. Why? Because we got to get rid of this money. He said to me, what can we buy inmates that are going to cost a lot of money? I said, Pop-Tarts. Right? Give us all Pop-Tarts. And it started off with everybody got a bag of Pop-Tarts. And then everybody got a box of Pop-Tarts. Right? Because we needed to spend $4 on every inmate if we were going to come up with all this money spent. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because we're doing this all across the United States with people who are blowing money that is allocated for this war on drugs. Right now we have $30 billion to help fight the opioid epidemic. And nobody's getting any of that money because no one's even figured out how to file for it or what they're going to use it for. But like the lifeboat, if I wanted to go and I wanted to file, I could ask for all that money. I would rather suck on a tailpipe than ask my government for $1 for any reason. They don't do anything right. I don't want to have any part of them. I don't. But I think we got to start yelling. I think everybody involved has to start screaming. You know what? This I'm putting up here because this is a story we're going to talk about on the lifeboat. We're going to Lady Spellbreaker's been on before. She's fantastic. And she lost her daughter. And when you hear the whole story, it's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. But so much more importantly, it's eye-opening. Because when you hear the chain of events that took place to put her daughter into the position that she was in, it's something that every parent in America needs to hear. Because we don't know the world that we live in. We don't. Our kids know the world they live in. We don't. And this is what I do, right? This is all I do. This is my life. And I promise you, I know nothing of the next generation. I know that they don't say getting baked anymore, and I know all of the lingo and all that, but I'm so out of the life now. Thank God. Thank God. Things have really changed. but we're going to be doing an interview. I had spoken to Lady Spellbreaker, and she's willing to come on and talk about that, which is not. I mean, it's incredible, but that is going to be coming up. I worked for a lab. They had the CEO make a speech. I will never forget him saying there is no money in curing a disease, only in repeat customers. Catch that one? I worked for a lab, and the CEO makes a speech. I will never forget him saying there is no money in curing a disease, only in repeat customers. Boy, there's a lot of truth to that, isn't there? Do you know what percentage of people in America are going to die of cancer? It's almost 50% now. They say 40 something is what your odds of dying of cancer are. Okay, so if it's almost every other person, right? It basically means that every other person in this country, more or less, is going to die of cancer. Can you name me a president or a vice president that we've ever had that has died of cancer? That's weird, isn't it? Can you name a secretary of state that we've had that's died of cancer? Can you name any really huge politician that died of cancer? Right? I don't mean senators and things. I mean things that are people that are near the White House. I am of the firm belief that they can cure that stuff. And I'll tell you why. When Silk Road was still open, right? Silk Road was the way you could buy drugs off the internet. It was brand new cutting edge stuff when it first came out, but you could buy anything from anywhere and it would be at your house in the morning. And you paid with Bitcoin and you would not believe all of the different dope that you get, things that you didn't even think they manufactured anymore or whatever. But I was ordering drugs from Silk Road, and I was doing it pretty much every day. But I ordered some Padiarco tea. It's a bark made in South America. And I ordered it because someone I knew had cancer. And Padiarco is supposedly amazing for people that have cancer. So my wife at the time said to me, there are 2 federal agents at the front door. And I went and I thought, holy crap. I mean, I'm buying dope every day. It's being sent to the house. And the guy said, yeah, McCain was not anywhere close to the White House, my man. I mean, he was we've lost senators, we've lost congressmen. Yeah, but he was not too close. I got on I got to look at Jimmy Carter. He's been on hospice for almost a year, and he's still alive. I met him years ago. I met Jimmy Carter. We spent a little time hanging out and talking. It was excruciating, to be really honest with you. There were public speakers that were part of this deal that we were doing that were trying to pay each other to take the seat next to him. It's a true story. He was not a fun guy to have a long conversation with, but no, there's no cure. I mean, there's no money in curing things, and we don't cure things. We treat them, right? That's what we do. We treat things. But this is an epidemic, and it's an epidemic that's not getting better. It's getting worse every single day. Do you know what scares politicians? Oh, good jump. You know what scares politicians? Because there's only one thing that scares politicians. The fact that they might have to go and get a job. For real. Do you realize how politicians live? Let's say you're the senator from Hawaii, right? And you've got a son that plays Little League baseball. You will fly on our dollar, right? On our tax dollar. You will fly from Honolulu to the United States of America to vote because there's a vote coming up on a bill. And then you can say, oh yeah, but my kid's playing in a Little League game tomorrow. Our tax dollar will fly you back home so you can catch that Little League game, right? And then we will fly you back out for the next vote. You don't do your own shopping. You don't do your own anything. You've got 12 or 13 aides, right? All kids usually, in their early to mid 20s who all want to be part of Washington, who do basically anything you tell them to do. I tell people this on the boat all the time, but I used to go whenever they were having a debate. So you got a Republican and a Democrat senator or congressperson or whatever who are going to get together and have a debate. They open up at the end for questions. And I always like to stand up and say, How much is a gallon of milk? Right? This is open for questions. How much does a gallon of milk cost? They can't tell you. I promise you, they cannot tell you. Most of the time, they cannot tell you how much a gallon of gas is. These people haven't driven in forever. You feel me? Haven't driven in forever. Congratulations, guacaholic. 60 days, people. We are no longer counting in days. Guac, now you can begin to count in months. You're entering month 3. That's huge. Well done. That's what it's all about right there. That is what it is all about. We're in a place right now in this country where if we don't get this under control, we're done. And the way you get it under control is these individuals who can't tell you what a gallon of gas costs. These people that can't tell you, they haven't been shopping since they got elected. And in some cases, the Nancy Pelosi's, the other guy that just had his second stroke while we watched. I don't have any perspective on anything in life. Nothing. And they're the people that we're going to trust to run this country. You know, I don't know if you remember the days of George Bush looking at the scanner, right? Where you scan your own stuff so you can do a self-checkout, and said, this technology is incredible. He hadn't seen a self-checkout. I mean, it was 15 years old at the time, but he had never seen one. Why? Because he doesn't go shopping. He makes out a shopping list and somebody shops for him. They don't want to lose that. So you want to make something happen? You call these people and say, I promise you, if you don't do something about fentanyl, we're getting you out of office. Right? I will make it my mission in life to get you out of office. Start making those phone calls and watch how fast people start listening. And the good thing these days is you can send emails and you can do all of these things and you can do them digitally. Seventh Son put stamps on envelopes and did it for days and days and days. He's one of my heroes. For real. Nobody's happy with what's going on. But there are people who actually start doing things. And the people that say, well, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, there is. There is. May not be much. It may not feel great. I mean, this is what I can do. I can sit here and I can bitch and I can call politicians. That's what I can do. And when we get lucky, 1,000 or 2 people see me complaining. They start talking to people. But you know what? If nothing else, people, if you say, I'm just not the kind of guy that contacts a senator, that's okay. That's okay. Talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids, talk to your nieces, nephews, talk to anybody you care about that's in this world. For real. I have an email and I would love so much to read it, but the person that wrote it to me kind of disappeared off the boat. And it was, some people just sort of come in and out. There are people that stay forever. There are people that just sort of pop in and out. Good to see you, Luke Skywalker. But this person, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to tell that story. Suffice to say that this person wanted to go back and have an opportunity to talk to somebody because they knew what to say, but they never said it. You don't want to be at a funeral for somebody that you could have talked to. I promise you, it will be the worst day of your life. Followed by the next, however many thousand days, thinking to yourself, would it have been different if I talked to them? If you feel like, boy, I'd like to talk to him, I just don't know what to say, send me an email, right? I'll talk to him, will you? I don't care. I was seriously ready to toss out over 29 years when I got here. Oh, Carol, how cool is that, man? Thank you, Carol. I needed that today. As Lenin said, if you don't do politics when politics will do you, then politics will do you. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. Glad that you're here. People, oh, I just got the nicest text every once in a while. We're at 55 minutes. I'm not kidding you. I walked in here today and told Alan, I'm like, I'm going to try to get you 5 minutes of this. I'm very, very happy that we got through this entire boat. I'm not, I've had better mornings, peeps, but we got through it. And I will be going live about 11 hours from right now, if all goes well. All right. Make it a great day, everybody, huh? Go out there and make it a great day. Talk to somebody about this, please. Send emails, but talk to those you love. If we're going to win the war on drugs, we're going to win it from the demand side, not the supply side. We have to do it through education. That's our only hope, is to educate the people that we love. And I'll say what, this is my favorite part of this entire presentation, and that is this. I don't think we're going to win the war on drugs. Nobody thinks we're going to win the war on drugs. But that said, if you win the battle in the war on drugs, you will care a lot less whether or not we win the war. And that battle is all of the kids in your family, right? All of the people that you love, all of the people who are in any way, shape, or form in your sphere of influence, people that you can talk to, right? And you can be that person to say to them, you realize that fentanyl's in everything, right? In everything. I'm not trying to be the guy to tell you to not have fun in life. It's not why I'm here. But if you're doing that crap, go get some fentanyl test strips so that if you're eating a perk 30, you eat a perk 30, And I'll tell you something. Those kinds of conversations, people look at you like, it's not what they're expecting to hear, right? They're expecting a lecture, which means they're writing you off before you even start talking. But if you say to them, not giving you any crap, right? Vixen. Good to see you, Vixen. I love that word. Love the word vixen. I've always loved the word vixen. Sorry. This is it. They talk about the greatest generation. They talk about the greatest generation because a bunch of 18-year-olds saved the planet. Right? For real. A bunch of 18-year-olds saved the planet from fascism. That's the greatest generation ever. This needs to be our World War II, and we need to become the best generation ever. At least hold a candle to the last one, because this is our war, and we're not doing anything about it. What do? We walk by the people laying on the street in Kensington. We video it and post it and see if we can get views. You don't see anybody in those videos going over and bending down and saying, hey, man, you didn't start here. How did you get here? Nobody wants to be a junkie. Nobody. Comet and Donner. I like the Comet and Donner reference. I think this is a slightly different Vixen. I don't think this one flies on the 25th of December. Tell you what, though, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I have been wrong before. Okay, people. Now I am going to go and start my day proper by throwing Alan Ballantyne in the pool. Then we're going to go from there. All right. I'll see you all this evening. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your morning with me. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This evil thing is a cat in a basket. Evil little animal is what she is. We'll see you this evening. God bless.